Hey, this is Glenn. Welcome to another episode of Difficult Questions. This one, can we ban words? I watch YouTube a lot, and now YouTube means a lot of money. You know, it started out with this idea that anybody could produce anything, but then money started getting into it and advertisers started getting into it. And so people could talk about things, but then all of a sudden YouTube started saying, well, you can't use these words and you can't talk about this because our advertisers don't want to be affiliated with it, and maybe we'll pull money from your ad. So now I see a lot of YouTubers talking about things, but not talking about things. And it just kind of drives me insane. I think, well, if you're interested in it, if we're watching it, we should be able to talk about it. And the tipping point for me, I grew up in a very diverse community, grew up with a lot of Black people, and grew up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s as a kid. And this idea of N, people call it the N word. It sounds stupid to me, the N word. But that was always kind of a word that wasn't for me, a word that gave disrespect to the people that I appreciated and loved and got along with and had no beef with. But since NWA, everyone has started to use that word in different ways for different meanings. And I've had a couple times where it's used towards me. And I think, well, what, this is weird. I don't want anything to do with the word. I don't want to say the word, yet it's being attributed to me. And so I wanted to talk about these words that come with emotion. Maybe they come with emotion. Maybe they, for some people, they feel good to say. It's kind of like putting an exclamation point or getting anger out. I don't exactly know. I know that for me, I never wanted to offend people, and I kind of live in my brain and I kind of stay away from emotion. I have no problem staying away from words that evoke emotions, whether anger or being edgy or in some way punctuating yourself. But a few times I have really wanted to use those words, and I think, man, it would feel really good. But there's always that audience. I've always been aware of who wants to hear what. And I've been hit by distracted drivers. And the last one just happened to be female. And I, a lot of times, try to not be emotional about it and talk about it to encourage people to really pay attention while they're driving. But I was with a friend recently, and I was telling him about getting hit, and I called the woman a bitch, and it felt good. I was like, oh, and I don't know the woman, right? But there's pent up anger about having my life demolished. And so I would argue that if you hit me with a car, I can call you a bitch. My ex-wife would not agree. She actually, that word for her was major disrespect. And I kind of understood that, or again, growing up when I did, we were challenging those words too. So you didn't call women bitches, and people were saying, don't do that. But then the internet happens and people want to hear people be bombastic and people want to hear those emotional words. I think that's why they watch. But then the advertisers get in and they say, no, you can't, we don't want to be associated with those words. And so if you do that, we're going to pull your money. And it just reminds me of the George Carlin bit about the 7 words you can't say on television. And even now we've broadened what broadcast is and challenged what broadcast is. It's still the same thing. And someone was telling me that we can't use certain words because we've moved on. And I don't know that we will ever move on. I think it's a rotating human condition. I think that we always try and push things. We always want to talk about things. We want emotion. We gravitate towards emotion and hearing emotion. We want to know how people feel. But then we also get offended. And some people have different life circumstances. And then we want to pull back and we want to say, you can't say that word. I don't feel a need to be edgy or to be difficult or to be emotional. But the word retarded, which is, I sound stupid saying it, but it's a medical term. Arguably, maybe we should figure out another term for it. But it was used always when I was growing up as something not for a mentally deficient person, but for an action that was arguably dumb for someone to do. And it always it was a humorous word. It's a strange sounding word, but it sounds funny and it sounds humorous. I don't know why. And I'm sure people had used it directly towards people that were developmentally disabled, but it was never used that way when I was growing up. And then I'm guessing in the past 10 years, parents of developmentally disabled people decided that they didn't want to hear that word. So there was that challenge, but it means slowed down. And we borrowed it or used it not only for mentally slowed down. I remember being in music and retardando to slow down the music. Or when I was doing technical theater, and we were talking about motors and slowing down the motors, we would retard the motors. So to me, it's this word that where people want to ban it, I get upset. And then I think, well, why do I get upset? I'm okay not calling people a bitch. And I'm definitely okay not using the N word. Definitely. In fact, I heard someone say it casually just the other day, and I recoiled. I thought, I just don't want to be around this person. And I don't know what that difference is. Is it just conditioning with me? Is it who am I offending directly? What pain am I causing directly? If I use the word retarded, is it offensive to the people around me? And why is it offensive? And how am I going to justify this? I don't know. But one word triggers me and another word doesn't. But it seems completely personal. And so how do you judge that? And if you're around certain people, maybe they don't get offended by certain words. But if you're around others, they do. But then if you broadcast, and everybody is broadcasting now, I am broadcasting, and I don't know who's going to be watching this. So I'm also watching what words I say and when. And obviously I'm okay saying bitch and I'm okay saying retarded, but I'm not okay saying N. I won't do it, even in a video talking about words that I feel frustrated I can't talk about, even when they're used towards me, which makes no sense to me, but it has become a thing with some people whenever they get amped up and angry, the breaking point for me was I was in a library in Burbank, California, and a guy got mad at me, and he was a white guy like me, and then he just started slinging N like he owned it. And I just thought, we're two white guys in the middle of a library. What are you doing? But obviously he had a different background than I did. He was super urban. That's the only way I think that's not offensive. Urban. He was like Eminem's delinquent cousin. And obviously for him, that word is something that is just part of his life. And I can't stop him from using it. Words are very personal. I can take money away from him from broadcasting it. If I'm a platform like YouTube, I can shun him and say, you shouldn't say that, but that only angers him more. I don't know. Can we ban words? What do words do for us? What do the words that other people don't like that you do like and use? What do they do for you? What does that mean to you when someone tries to stunt your speech or take money away from you for talking about things that other people don't want you to talk about? How do you deal with that? And where are the lines, especially with technology being so freeform now and broadcast being so open to everybody? What are we doing? How does this work? I don't know. What do you think? Thanks for listening.